Hey there, James here, and today what I've got to share with you is an interview with Ben. Now, Ben is a chiropractor who worked for quite a long time running a very successful chiropractic clinic, and in this interview he shares quite a lot about how he started that journey, how he grew it to be filled, and how, as a business person, he used various learnings and various strategies to find out how to get where he wanted to go. He actually had a huge life event, an accident where he suffered an injury that caused him to really change direction in his life, but he ended up running 3 other really successful businesses using the things that he'd learned from being a chiropractor, from running that business first. Listen to his journey. It is really interesting how life can take you in different directions and how the things that we've learned from our past can be used to propel us into those new directions in the future. So listen in. We caught up with him while he was actually on holiday. So if you're watching the video, you'll see he's in like a resort in Queensland, which is absolutely fantastic. Listen in, learn what you can from this interview, and enjoy. Fantastic to have you on the show here today, Ben. Thank you so much for coming at us. For you listeners, Ben is actually on holidays at the moment. Where did you say you were? Port Macquarie, was that it?
Port Douglas.
Port Douglas,
Resort,
sorry.
Give them a plug. QT Resort, Port Douglas. Sitting by these amazing lagoons that are full of these ginormous barramundi fish.
Oh,
So
it looks absolutely fantastic. Yeah, really, really good. So thank you for taking some time out of your relaxation time to come and chat with us. Really great to hear your story. Now, I wanted to ask you a few things because I know you've been on quite a long journey in business, worked as a chiropractor for a number of years, and then started a bunch of other businesses. And after all that huge journey of running those businesses, you've now turned around and started doing some coaching yourself, specifically in that sort of life change time as people age and are in the same position, I guess, after they've run businesses and done that sort of thing. But to start with, before we get into all that, let's go back to the beginning. Like, where did you actually start your first business? What was it like starting up as a chiro? How did that journey look for you over those first few years? Share a few stories around that.
It really started way back when I was 17.
Yeah, okay.
I wanted to be an electronics engineer. And my mum and dad took me to a chiropractor. And it was Max Joseph in Mornington. And he was a great old school chiropractor. And I went there for sore knees. He didn't even look at my knees. Went straight to my neck, adjusted my neck. And I remember the adjustment. It was seriously, well, as you'll find out, life-changing.
Wow.
And I remember getting back in the car and driving home. And I'm sitting in the back seat of one of those old cars that had the bench seat.
Yep.
And the world was brighter. It was clearer. There was more colour. And I said to Mum and Dad, can you see how, like, there's more colour? What are you talking about? I said, well, it's clearer and there's more colour. I thought I was crazy. I get home, and a couple of hours later, I remember walking out to the kitchen, and Mum and Dad are making bread, and saying to them, I don't want to be an electronics engineer anymore. I want to become a chiropractor.
There you go.
That was when I was 17. And from that moment, I spent time hanging out with Max Joseph. And I know we're going to get to talk about, some of the things that I've learned and some of the advice that I would give. But one of the pieces of advice that I would give now to every single client that I have is find yourself a mentor. Find yourself someone to hang around that challenges you, that raises you to a higher standard, that champions you. And Max Joseph was that for me. So from the age of 17, I got to hang around with him. I applied to get into chiropractic and I got in. I still remember the moment when I opened the little envelope, and for those old school people that are listening, we used to have not computer printers, but they had this kind of carbon copy thing that they'd obviously pressed onto the envelope. And so when you opened it, there was this carbon imprint. And I remember the word chiropractic. And so I got in. So I spent 5 years at chiro. I spent all that time while I was at university. And this is, again, more advice that I'd give you, is that the universities and your colleges aren't going to teach you how to be a business person.
Yeah, it's true.
They're going to teach you to be great practitioners, but not business people. So I spent my 5 years learning how to be a business person. In the early years, I appointed myself seminar liaison coordinator. So I would liaise between seminar providers outside of the campus, guys like you, and the guys on the campus.
Yeah,
and so I would do that in exchange for free tickets.
Great.
So someone like you would give me some free tickets for your seminars and all your bits and pieces, and I would promote you to the students. So for those 5 years, I got to hang out with guys like you and learn about the skills of running a business, the philosophy,
fantastic,
the strategies for running a business. So by the end of 5 years, I graduated. 6 weeks before I graduated, I bought my first chiropractic practice.
Wow.
So I was pretty confident about, getting into practice straight away. There's about 3 practitioners or my colleagues that graduated at the time that went straight into owning their own practices.
Yeah.
And so I took that over 6 weeks officially before I registered, I think. But let's not tell a rego board that. Maybe. I can't remember.
I'll keep that under my hat.
Yeah. So I started running that practice, and there was a handover period for 6 weeks, and then I basically, it was just me. And I can remember I've got a picture right now sitting looking at this folder full of accounts and business bank statements, very early, second or third weekend, just looking puzzled as to how this was all going to work. And it is that merge between your career, your passion, and running a business that is so important. And so whilst I felt I was prepared, even now looking back, I don't think I was. But anyway, so that was my start.
Yeah,
and I got into chiropractic.
What a start. Like, even that is a really powerful, motivated start. Actually buying into a practice and knowing that you were ready to go 6 weeks before graduating. You obviously had quite a strong idea of what a successful chiropractor looked like. I guess that was through the mentoring that you'd already been part of. And then you were ready to step into that role almost immediately by the sound of things, rather than, I think for some people, it is a much longer journey of kind of, oh, now I'm qualified, what do I do next? And it's not until they really get out into the real world, they finish their studies, and then they're starting that journey that you'd already been on. And I think that in itself is great example for anyone who is studying at the moment. It's like, don't wait until you're finished to then start thinking about what's this going to look like afterwards.
Yep.
Like, start thinking about it the minute you know you're going to be a chiropractor or a therapist or whatever it is. The minute you know, what does it look like to be like that? What does it feel like? How do I need to behave, and who do I need to be to make this work? The training is a huge part of it, and a fascinating and wonderful part of it. But there's a whole lot more you need to be successful, which is exactly what you're talking about. And then how long were you then running that clinic? Was that just you by yourself when you say you bought it? Were there other people working there, or what was that actually like?
Yeah, no, it was just me running the practice.
Yeah, great.
One of the things that I would say is, and I love what you just said there, is hitting the ground running.
Yeah.
Getting out of the course and hit the ground running. And I think also creating some deadlines, creating some leverage on yourself. So I bought that practice back in the days, again, way before your time, James, back at 17% interest.
Wow.
So I borrowed over $100,000 at 17% interest at 23 years of age.
There's motivation right there. You got to make it work, right? When you're committed.
Make it work. Yeah. So that level of commitment, when you decide, when you cut off from any other option, I think that's powerful. And so, again, for practitioners, I see so many of them dabbling. When I've got enough money, then I'll get a sign. And I get the sign, get the business card, get the great table, get committed.
Yeah, I love what you're saying there. And it
cut off from any other option.
Yeah, and it comes back to even that level of certainty that you had. This is who I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to do. And if you're that certain, then why wouldn't you jump in and do it? It's only if you don't have that level of commitment or that level of certainty, that's the only time you would ever feel like, I've got to play a small game and play safe and do things step by step. It's like, once you're committed, once you know that's the direction that you're going and you've got that as a life goal, just do it. Do it full out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. And you and I spoke just off air around this, who do you need to be to get the thing done? Most of my coaching that I do with clients is getting their mindset right, getting them confident, getting them structured, getting them passionate around what they want to achieve and what they want to do. But also I reckon that, bite the bullet and become confident.
Yeah.
When you decide, when you cut off from many other options, you have to get confident.
Yeah.
You have to get structured. You have to get organized. You have to get passionate. You have to become attractive. Rather than waiting to get confident and then I'll buy the thing, I reckon buy the thing, commit, do the thing, and then have the culture, the ethos come.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's about surrounding yourself with people.
It is. Yeah, and action. Something we talk about often is action precedes clarity. It's like, don't wait until you're clear on the direction and then take action. Do something. and then clarity will bring itself forward. It'll either be right or it'll be wrong or whatever, but whatever you do will lead to the clarity that you need. And it's the same kind of thing you're talking about. It's like, just
Absolutely.
jump in, just work your way towards that end goal, and you'll figure it out as you go. If you sit there waiting for it to be perfect, you wait too long, the opportunity passes. Anyway, let's come back to you and your story before we get too lost in our kind of ramblings around motivation and action. What did those next, I think you said you were 14 years you were a chiropractor there.
So I think it was around 14 years that I was in practice, maybe just a bit less than that. And I had this defining moment. That's again what I coach on around midlife, or these defining moments sometimes we have. And you can have them a lot younger. And I think I was about 36. I was in Fiji, and it was one of those magnificent palm trees. You know those ones that kind of curl out over the beach?
Yes.
And the sun was setting. It was the last day. And I said to my wife, I'm going to climb out to the end of that. Could you take a photo with the sun setting in the background, the water, the sand? It's going to be amazing. Anyway, so I climbed to the end of the palm tree, and it gets a little wobbly. And it gets more wobbly. And as it gets more wobbly, I get more wobbly. I look down, and probably about 3 or so meters underneath the palm tree, there is some water and sand. And I think, it's going to be okay. I'll fall, and it'll be fine. So anyway, I fall out of the tree. My feet plow through the water into the sand. And I hit the sand, and it feels really hard. So I'm laying in the water, and both feet are just throbbing. The right foot seems to feel better. The left foot doesn't. Underneath the sand was a huge flat rock, and it had smashed my left foot into thousands of pieces. My left foot was pretty much gone. It had imploded in on itself. So we did the Fiji hospital thing, which is an experience in itself, got home, had surgery on the foot, and was unable to practice for 6 months.
Wow.
So it had all been cruising just beautifully.
Yeah.
My plan, everything was going great, and then all of a sudden, I can't practice. And in the beginning, I thought, it's going to be good, you know. I've never really had some time off, like a long, long time. I'm going to have 3 months off, enjoy the cast, read some books, make some model planes, just, hang out.
Okay.
Well, I did that. 3 months later, I take the cast off, and I can't walk. So I had another 3 months of not being able to practice, and it was during that 3 months that I started to kind of get a bit rickety. My confidence started to drop. In fact, I would say I probably went into some level of depression.
Yeah.
And during that time, a good mate of mine came up to me and said, mate, I'm building a medical clinic. You got some time off at the moment. Do you want to build a radiology clinic next door? So renewed purpose, renewed mission, an opportunity to create again, which is one of my highest values, is creation. And so it literally just dragged me out of that slump. Within weeks,
great.
And I was back on again. And so that started the journey of me owning a radiology company. And so over the next 7 years, as well as running a chiropractic practice, I built a radiology company. We ended up owning 4 radiology practices in Southeast Victoria, all bulk billing radiology, built them all from scratch.
Fantastic.
The first one we opened was just, again, it's getting committed. So it's taking a lease in a building that was, $100,000 a year. It's buying $500,000 worth of equipment. It was employing staff. It was having the equipment installed, and still not one X-ray hadn't been taken.
Yeah, that's right? Commitment. That's right.
And it's, and when you're working with the government, it's not knowing if you're really even going to get paid when you're part of the Medicare system, right? So, we sent our first account off to Medicare for our first lot of X-rays, and we didn't know whether we were going to get paid.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, a great story again about biting the bullet.
Yeah, and, finding that level of commitment. And with the clinic itself, the chiropractic side of things, you'd spent, 13 or 14 years by this stage actually running the business. Yeah. So you did have a fair level of business skills before you're jumping into a new venture there. What do you feel like were the main things that were transferable between those two? Like, it's a similar industry, but it's actually quite a different service when you think about chiropractic versus X-rays or radiology. Like, what was the things that could be easily transferred between those two?
The thing that I think was probably not easily transferred, but importantly was transferred, was culture.
Yeah, okay.
It was a culture of something we talk about in chiropractic, which is spizorinctum. And spizorinctum is a bit like chutzpah. It's that passion. It's that, sweat talk about effervescence.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
something extra. And so with our team, both in the chiropractic centre and even in radiology, even in that what can be sometimes stale, clinical, I'm trying to be kind with all the words I'm picking here.
It's very medical,
almost,
isn't it?
Yeah, very medical. We put the effervescence into it. So with this culture of, when I would start with staff, I would say, I want the patients that aren't ours. There are some other doctor's patients, and he's just referred them in for a 20-minute procedure. I want them to leave feeling better for having come into the practice.
Great.
So it was a culture of being attractive, being interesting, being curious of your patients, impacting them. One of the things we talk about in chiropractic, and one of the things I used to teach my associates was give them a chiropractic tick. Give them the tick. Give them something special, so they leave just shifted in some way. Impact them.
Yeah.
We go through life so busy, running from one appointment to the next. And sometimes, we could even go in and see whether it's our chiro or our masseur or even our own doctor or even with our own partner. We can just go through the journey of life, never really feeling impacted, never really pausing to take the moment in. And so I teach staff that they need to impact our clients, our patients. So the patient remembers that they came to see us. They go home and they talk about the visit that they had. And it's something where they leave inspired. They leave shifted in a positive way.
Yeah.
So that was something that we certainly shifted from chiropractic, and we took it into radiology, and it had a huge impact, not just on our patients, but also on our staff.
Yeah, that's great. And I do love that because if for a client or a patient, a huge part of the experience of any kind of healthcare is not just literally the x-ray or whatever they get out of the end of it, but the actual experience of coming in. And with chiropractic or with massage as well, the treatment is probably a bit more hands-on and a bit more personal, but it's still not the actual treatment that people come in for. It's the outcomes, but we want to make that treatment the best experience that we can and pack as much quality and as much enjoyment and whatever else it is that people need, as much of that effervescence into that time that we've got together. So I think that's a fantastic thing to carry across. And I'm sure you'll bring that through into the coaching that you're doing now as well. The
effervescence isn't just for the practitioner either. The effervescence is when you're with the client. It's the front desk staff. It's when you answer the phone. So our team, even in radiology, they were scripted to answer the phone in a certain way with a certain tonality.
Yeah, love it.
No matter what sort of day you're having, you always answer the phone this way with this tonality.
Yeah.
So we want the client, before they've even had a chance to make an appointment, to feel impacted.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love it. And that would have been in the chiropractic clinic as well. I want to just touch on that chiropractic practice for a second as well, because I know before when we were talking, you were mentioning how you tried to pack in more quality in less time. I've forgotten the actual phrase that you used. Do you want to talk about that for a second? As you were going on in the business a bit and you'd grown and you had a team around you, what was that piece of knowledge that you can bring and share to us now around that?
Yeah, it's one of my favourite things. It's compressing for quality.
Compressing for quality, that's it.
And so you and I spoke about, often we think about music, when you compress it, you lose quality.
Yeah.
I contend that you can actually compress, spend less time, less money, less effort, less energy, but increase the quality. So never compress and decrease quality. Ask yourself the question, how can I compress but increase the quality of the experience, both for you as the practitioner and for the patient? Both for you as the husband and for the wife.
Yeah.
This goes across all aspects of our life. Through healthcare, through looking after your own health, through exercise, through nutrition. How can you compress, do less, but achieve more better?
Yeah, I love it. So what does that actually look like for you as a chiropractor, practicing with a team, with patients coming in regularly, taking that ethos of compressing for quality? What did that actually look like for you? How did it work itself out?
Yeah. The ethos is a big question and it has a huge answer to it. So maybe for your listeners, I'll give you some of the some of the things that we did. And some of the things we did was systematized.
Great.
So massively systematized. for the practitioner and for the entire team. So we were systematized down to the minute, how long it would take to take a history. And we had a system of taking that history, so we knew that we could take a history in 7 minutes.
Yeah,
and
great.
It was a history like the client has never had taken before. You know, they would finish that 7 minutes almost exhausted by the depth of understanding and knowledge that we managed to extract from them in that 7 minutes.
Great.
We knew the examination. An examination was going to take 6 minutes. And I often said to my clients, when was the last time you had an exam like this during the exam procedure? You know, we're only maybe 3 minutes in. And they go, never. No one's ever examined me like this. So here we've got an examination. We got so much information about the patient's health in less time, with less effort and less energy. The patient had a better experience. We got more knowledge. They were impacted. They were wowed. Compressing for quality.
Yeah, I love it. And it basically sounds like you're just setting yourself a really high standard and looking at what is the best way we can replicate this. And I think scripting is very underrated for a lot of new business people or having a procedure. It's like they just kind of figure, oh, look, I'm a person, they're a person, we'll get together, we'll make sure it works. And it does. But if you think about what is the absolute best job I can do in this moment at this time, there should only be one answer. The very best thing looks like this. And so if you can script down what the very best thing looks like for any procedure at any moment and replicate that, that's what you're talking about. It's like using that time for the best possible outcomes and in the best possible way you can.
It takes you out of the equation when you're scripted and systematized. If you have a bad day, it doesn't matter because you're scripted and systematized. Same with the front desk staff. If your client or your patient's having a bad day, it takes them out of the equation as well.
Yeah.
If you've got a script and a system. You know, one of the things that one of my great coaches said to me, he said, you've got just one patient. Have one system and one strategy and apply it across the board. So you never miss anything. Just because you're having a bad day or the patient's having a bad day, you can't afford to miss something.
Yeah.
Follow a script, follow a system. And it's really about, it's also about impacting our clients. You know, having them have an amazing wow experience. You know, Disneyland is scripted. You know, if you get on a ride in Disneyland, the guy, you know, when the lion jumps out, he goes, wow, you know, and he pulls the gun and does the, you know, shoots the lion or whatever he does. Probably doesn't do that anymore. That's not kosher, but you know, he's scripted and he's allowed, apparently, the story goes, 5 ad libs.
Wow.
5 words that are not in the script. And they have people that travel, you know, mystery diners or mystery shoppers, if you like, that travel on the rides to look for when he's off script. So again, one of the gold standards that practitioners need to have is some scripts. And I know you guys are really big on scripts and systems.
Yeah, it's a great way to make your business run more smoothly, literally as well. And even coming back to what you were saying before as well, I totally agree with not just business. Not that you want to script conversations with your partner, not to that level, but you do want to set aside time and actually relax with excellence as well. It's like, you know, go somewhere, jet off, do your thing and do it properly. And then you can do it in a shorter amount of time. Then you can do the other stuff you want to do in your life as well. Rather than what a lot of people do is they work hard, they do a good job at work, and then they just kind of sit on the couch and watch Netflix all weekend. And it's not even really that relaxing because they're not putting their minds to making sure that that's done with excellence as well. And you can get that dance, that balance between the different aspects of your life working a lot better if you do everything at the same level, if you just live an excellent life in the different areas that you do. It's fantastic. What about, let's say, because you've done that, you've been the chiropractor for 14 years, you've had 7 years of doing the radiology, excellent business skills by this time, a heap of amazing experiences, and you've obviously done quite well out of it, got some good successes under your belt. What are you doing now? What does the now and maybe the immediate future, what's your kind of vision for what's happening with Ben from here?
Yeah, I am so excited. I'm so excited. So this year is a shift in my coaching, a slight shift. It's kind of almost like a tweak in it to move to purely coaching people in midlife.
Yeah, great.
So, you know, I think, you know, we've all heard about midlife crisis. Yeah. I do love the word crisis because it comes from the Greek word chris, which means to sieve out. to be at a turning point, to make a decision. You know, and so for many of us in midlife, we've been on a certain journey. We've made a decision about what we're going to do in our early 20s, whether that was to start a family or pursue a career. And often we get to the 40-year-old mark and maybe our kids are getting a bit older. So we're now asking ourselves, you know, what am I going to do now? Or maybe we're at the point we're moving into the 40s and we want to start a family. We've just started a family. And we're going, so what about my career? You know, so Christ is around us making a decision around what we want to sieve out. You know, I love the book, The One Thing.
Oh, yeah.
Another book I'm reading at the moment called Essentialism. Essentialism?
Yeah, I've read that one too.
Yeah, Essentialism. And it's about doing less, deciding what's really important. You know, up to the turn of the 19th century, when we talk about the word priorities, it didn't exist. There was just the word priority. There was just one thing, right? But now in life we have all these priorities. Well, Christ is around sieving out, making a decision about deciding what we really want. And I think there's a whole group of midlifers that are hanging on to some decisions they made in their 20s that were great. Yeah. But now it's time to maybe sieve out, let go of some of that stuff and let some new stuff in. So they're in fear about making decisions. You know, they feel stuck around that. Yeah. And so this year is about pursuing more that midlife niche and helping them get through some of the decisions so they can pursue the life they really want, a life that's got more meaning, a life that counts, you know, a life that's got more fun, more freedom, that feels more fulfilling. You know, I look at some of the midlifers out there and they just feel stuck. Yeah. Because they're not making the decisions. So I'm looking forward to I'm writing a book this year.
Fantastic.
Super excited about the path I'm taking. And it all revolves around helping people, you know, get their character right, decide on what really is important, how they want it to finish, how they want it to turn out, and then getting clear on a plan, a strategy, you know, like we talked about, systems and strategies and scheduling and putting a plan together, and then deciding about who you need to be. What are you going to carry on your dashboard? What are the indicators you're going to use to know whether you're on the right path or who you're being? And then doing stuff, you know, actually doing it. There's so much philosophizing that goes on out there, but nothing shifts. Nothing shifts in that person's world or in the world around them. You've got to do something. You've got to move. I don't know whether you saw the book, The Secret, that was out years ago. And there was certainly a documentary kind of movie made on it. Yeah. And a lot of people saw that and they thought, okay, I just got to sit in a chair and go, like Porsche. Like Porsche.
And one will magically drive up the driveway for you.
Yeah. You've got to sit in a chair and meditate on the black Porsche, yes, but you've got to go and get a job and earn the money, then go into the dealer and buy it. Yeah. You know, it's action. So, you know, it's helping our midlifers, you know, take action as well. And I think the reason I'm so attracted to that is we've got a group of people that are getting to the point around leaving some legacy. They're also our leaders, you know, our mums and dads, our leaders in industry, our leaders in communities. We need leaders. We need mentors. We need people to champion the next generation that's coming through. And so I don't believe that you can do that, though, if you haven't got yourself right. So I want to see our midlifers get themselves right, you know, create a life that matters, create a life that counts so that they can mentor, they can encourage and champion the next generation that's coming through.
Fantastic. I love that vision. And that's a really great place for you to be in too, in a position where you are influencing and guiding those people through a time of big change in their lives. Yeah, I think that's a really powerful time to be involved with them. What about before we actually finish up this interview, which has been great, thank you so much. But
don't go.
Well, we're on a time limit. We better finish up soon. But before we go, I'll give you another chance to have a bit more of a rant before we finish. But the last thing I wanted to ask you about was more to do with, say, advice. If you've got young people coming up, whether they're chiropractors or massage therapists or any other kind of naturopaths or whatever it is in that sort of health industry, from the experience you've had over that time, what would you say are the biggest pieces of advice or the biggest single one-off things that you feel like they could do or see or be part of that would help them on this journey towards the end goal, towards success?
I would say, you know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of a guy called Lou Holtz, famous American college football coach. Yeah. And Lou was famous for lots of things. And one of the things he was famous for was taking losing teams and making them winning teams. And he did this 5 times in his coaching career.
Okay.
Take a team that was at the bottom of the ladder, all the way to the top, and all the way to the Rose Bowl, which is the American college football version, if you like, of our AFL Grand Final.
Great.
But here's the thing. He did it all within 2 years, from the bottom to the top.
Wow.
And he took 80% of the original players.
Wow.
So he didn't buy players in. He took players that were losers and made them winners. And he was asked, how do you do it? What's the secret? And he goes, it's really simple. I just ask 3 questions. I'm going to tell you, these questions were simple when I first heard them, but they are incredibly powerful.
Okay. So give us the 3. Come on, I'm on the edge of my seat here.
First question is, can you be trusted?
Can you be trusted?
That's the question that you ask of me. And it's a question that I would probably ask of you, and you ask of others, and others ask of you. But most importantly, it's a question that you ask of you.
Yeah.
Can you be trusted, right? And when we ask that question, we're asking, are we consistent? Do we say we're going to do something and actually do it?
Yes. Yeah, I love it.
So my first piece of advice is make a decision, say you're going to do it, and actually do it. And do you know what? It might not work out. But it might. But you never know until you have a go. So become consistent. Be trustworthy. Second thing he asks is, are you committed to excellence?
Yeah.
Are you committed to being your best, right? And I think there's 3 parts to that. And this is perfectly why, guys need to hang out with guys like you. First of all, are you committed to education? Are you committed to learning stuff that maybe is a challenge? It's not stuff that you want to read or hear. You go to seminars, you go to conferences, you're reading books, you're listening to podcasts. Are you educating yourself? Secondly, are you experiencing it? Are you taking that knowledge and putting it into action? Are you applying it in your life? And then thirdly, who are you engaging with? You've heard that story before. You are your 5 closest friends. Your money is your 5 closest friends, and the average of that. The average of your 5 closest friends in their relationships. The average of your 5 closest friends in their businesses. That is your business. Who are you engaging with? I've got to tell you, some of your listeners need to get better friends.
Yeah. Yeah,
Don't get rid of their oldies, but get some new ones. People that champion you and ask you to raise your standards. And the third question is, do you care? Do you care about you, but do you care about others? Are you curious of other people? Do you seek to understand first and then seek to be understood? As Jimmy Rohn said in Good to Great, what does he say? What is your question to statement ratio? Do you ask more questions than you make statements? We could all do way better at that. At asking questions. Be curious of other people. Don't agree with them necessarily. Seek to understand, not necessarily to agree, but to understand their world. And are you curious about yourself? Do you take the time to learn about you and what's important for you? It's that purpose. We know a purpose-driven life creates way more health, way more success, way more sense of fulfillment. Get to know yourself better.
Yeah,
so
I love it.
That would probably be my advice for new graduates.
Yeah,
follow the Lou Holtz model of those 3 questions.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love it. And definitely the purpose side of things, I think in this industry, in the health sector, it's easy to see the purpose behind that. It's easy to sort of look at it and go, well, we're improving the health of Australia, the health of our communities. But it's also got to be something you take into your own heart more than just saying it. It's like you've got to be able to live and be that purpose, to understand that, yeah, I'm on this journey and I'm working my way towards that end goal. And I love it. This is who I am and who I was meant to be. And it does add so much to your experience of life and to your day. It's amazing. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. And it's great to see you living your purpose too, Ben, as it's changed over time and you've had different opportunities to take different paths, all fantastic experiences. And you can see that all of those have led you to the place that you're in right now, doing what it is that you're doing right now. Now, the book you talked about writing, do you have a title for that yet? Can we find out some more information for that yet?
The title I think is going to be, it's either going to be Make It Count, a guide to more fun, freedom and fulfillment in your FDs.
Yep.
Or, controversially, it could be Get Effed, a guide to more fun, freedom, fulfillment in your FDs.
I love it, the Fs.
So I'm not really sure about the title, but it is going to be about just having moments that really matter, and having a life that counts, not just for you, but it's going to count for others, for the other generations, for your kids, for your work colleagues, for your community. It's about leaving that legacy. Because the evangelist, Billy Graham, he says, you know, legacy is it's not what we leave behind. It's not our material wealth and the things accumulated in one's, you know, life. But legacy is it's the character and faith that we leave behind. Sense of character. You know, legacy is it's that character in you that you leave behind. And I think our midlifers have got a great opportunity to do that.
Yeah, fantastic. They certainly do. It's exactly the right time of life to be having that influence and leaving that legacy. If people want to find out more about you or the book when it does come out in the future, where can they do that, Ben? Do you have a website or something we can look at?
So theonbutton.com.au.
And I'll put the link in the show notes, but it's the on button.
Yeah, theunstuckdoc.com is on its way. That will be my new website that will be related to the book.
Okay.
Or just email me if they've got any questions or queries. So it's ben@theonbutton.com.au.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. No worries. And I'll put those links in the show notes for people that are interested so they can follow up, because it sounds like you're doing a great job. And I'm sure there'll be people who are in that situation in their life, hitting their 40s, going through that change, whichever direction they're going, career to family, family to career. There's always a change of life around that time. And I can so see it would be so fantastic to have some guidance through that time as well. Thanks for coming on the show today. Been fantastic to chat with you. I'll let you get back to holidaying. What's the plan for the afternoon? You got a surf or a swim in the pool or something planned?
Well, you know, it seems to get dark early up here. Maybe, I don't know, it's just me. But what have we got? It's 3:45, so probably just another swim in the pool and then get organised for some dinner.
Sounds fantastic. Good work. Enjoy your evening. We'll catch up with you next time.
Thanks, James. Cheers.
See you later.